Good evening, hello and welcome. You're with the news today. This is your primetime destination. News, newsmakers, talking points. Thursday night, the big story once again from across the border in Nepal, where the Gen Z protesters are now divided over Kaun Banega Prime Minister. Who will be the Prime Minister pick? Also, Prime Minister Modi lavishes praise on Mohan Bhagwat on the RSS leader's 75th birthday. What does that mean? And the big international story, Trump ally Charlie Kirk assassinated. Who's behind it and what does it say about American society? All that and much more. But first, the 9 headlines at 9 tonight. Nepal remains a country divided. The Gen Z group ready to accept the leadership of former Chief Justice Sushila, but former Chief of Nepal Power Board Kulman Ghising also in the race. A big win for forces against Red Terror in Chhattisgarh. 10 Naxals killed in Gariyaband district. Top Maoist leader Manoj Balakrishna killed. He had a bounty of 1 crore on his head. Vice President-elect C.P. Radhakrishnan to take oath tomorrow at Rashtrapati Bhavan at 10 a.m. President Draupadi Murmu to administer the oath. Prime Minister Modi praises RSS chief Mohan Bhagwat on his 75th birthday, calls him a living example of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. Congress takes a jibe, calls it a desperate bid to curry favor with the RSS. A political war breaks out after the Karnataka government proposes to rename Shivaji Nagar Metro in Bengaluru after St. Mary. Maharashtra Chief Minister now calls the move an insult to the Maratha warrior king. Shock murder case in Hyderabad. 50-year-old woman's throat slit, bludgeoned to death by a pressure cooker by domestic workers. Culprits captured in CCTV but still absconding. Donald Trump announces a Presidential Medal of Freedom for Charlie Kirk. Blames the radical left for his assassination, but the shooter remains at large. Big headway in India-US trade talks. US team to visit India by September end. US Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick, though, says will sort out trade deal only when India stops buying Russian oil. And Elon Musk versus Sam Altman over OpenAI whistleblower Suchir Balaji's death. OpenAI's CEO Altman says Suchir died by suicide. Musk rejects the claim, says he was murdered. But our top news is all that's been happening in the turbulent neighborhood, with Nepal struggling to pick up the pieces after 48 hours of total unrest. Amidst the destruction and chaos, Gen Z protesters are continuing their push for change, but the path is far from smooth. From jailbreaks and clashes to tense negotiations, the nation now facing tough questions about who will lead it through the crisis. Let's tell you all that's been happening today. Nepal's youth that was united against the government is now divided over who will be the next leader. One group of protesters backing Sushila Karki, former Chief Justice, while another wants Kulman Ghising, former Chief of the Nepal Electricity Authority, as their next leader. Gen Z protesters also clashed today outside the Nepal Army headquarters this afternoon on the issue of negotiating with the army and the road ahead for the country. The protesters brawled amongst themselves in the middle of the road. An uneasy calm remaining on the ground in Kathmandu and other areas. Government offices are in ruins even as the curfew remains in place. The ministerial quarters that were set on fire lie in a charred and damaged state. Drone visuals are showing the aftermath of the arson. After the unrest, Nepal security is tight at the Indo-Nepal border, with only oil tankers being allowed to cross into India. SSP and Bengal police have tightened security at the Pashupati gate. Indians stranded in Nepal are being allowed to come only after strict questioning and investigation. An Indigo flight departed from Kathmandu for Visakhapatnam with 144 Telugu citizens who were stranded in Nepal. In-flight visuals captured the joy and relief among those on board. Okay, as Nepal therefore remains on the edge even now, with no clear sign over who will be taking over the Himalayan Republic, I am joined by the country's leading journalist, editor of Himal, Kanak Mani Dikshit joins me. Appreciate your joining us, Mr. Dikshit. let's get this very clear. At this time, yesterday, we were doing breaking news that Chief Justice Sushila Karki will lead the interim government. Now we are told more figures coming out. Kulman, Ghising is one of the names. There's also Balendra Shah, the Kathmandu mayor. It seems that the Gen Z protesters are divided and don't know who will now lead the country. Do they have that kind of power? Can you explain why this division over who will succeed or who will be the next prime minister in Nepal?
Rajdeep, thank you for having me. The negotiations over who will lead the interim government have barely begun. However, some of the very imaginative minds among some of your colleagues in the media in India have decided to appoint the interim prime minister in Nepal. It was suggested Sushila Karki. She has been reluctant, who is the ex-Supreme Court Chief Justice. She has been reluctant in the beginning. But apparently there is no meeting of minds among aspects of the Gen Z generation. Remember, the Gen Z is an entire generation. Among them, there are some genuine individuals and there are some self-appointed latecomers who call themselves Gen Z. So it's, to begin with, the entire history making of Nepal as of now, and we're at a history making moment, was triggered by the Generation Z or Z in South Asia, going in for a 3-hour dharna on the 8th of September. And by the very organizers of that Gen Z dharna, saying that we have been infiltrated, but we have already won the day, go home safely. So since then, it has been a roller coaster of violence of the first day, 19 dead through extreme police firing, more dead, 25 in all, 300 plus wounded. So we're still counting the incredible devastation. It has not even sunk in yet because we don't even know so much. Right. In the middle of all of this, certainly discussion has moved ahead. Who's going to be heading the caretaker government? Clearly, we'll have to have one.
Can I just stop you for a moment to go back to the Gen Z or Gen Z? Because I think here in India, we're trying to understand what is this Gen Z and Gen Z revolution, or who really are the faces of this revolution in Nepal. Is there more clarity now as to what, is there a clear line of leadership within Gen Z or Gen Z? Oh. Is it similar to what we saw in Bangladesh, where the student protesters eventually were trying to dictate terms to the establishment? Are we going to see that also playing out in Nepal? Do they have that kind of clout and power that they will decide, and not the political parties or even the army, as to what happens next in Nepal?
Firstly, there is some more clarity than earlier as to who are the representatives of the Gen Z. Certainly, they don't represent the whole country's youngsters and youth, but they do represent a significant and alert slice of individuals with access to social media, and a lot of them influencers and podcasters and content creators and others. And there is no doubt, Rajdeep, that the initial call for the sit-in and the rally on the 8th of September was very politically astute, talking about corruption, talking about good governance, etc. But then it clearly got overtaken by individuals claiming to be Gen Z, and it was infiltrated. So you talked about the political parties and whether there is any similarity with what happened in Bangladesh. I do not think the Generation Z in Nepal will get ultimately to dictate terms as seems to have happened in Bangladesh, primarily because today, till yesterday, there was sannata, there was so much violence and so much to digest, the kind of countrywide mayhem of the kind that we can get into if you have the time. But let me just say it was unprecedented in not just the modern history of Nepal, but the history of Nepal, the violence that we saw the day before, yes, on the 8th. But then after that, the political parties, civic society, and others have activated themselves today. The ex-president, Vidyadevi Bhandari, have spoken up. The Nepal Bar Association have spoken up. The two political party personages of the high level have spoken up, all of them saying the constitution is not dead, parliament is not dead, and we are here, and the president has a role to play. So this is, as we stand today, that is the development story, Rajdeep.
Where does this leave the army in particular? Because the Nepal army chief was the one who stepped in yesterday, and he was seen to be the one, Ashok Raj Sigdel, who was trying to sort of cobble together some kind of an interim government. Do you believe that the army has that kind of clout that they will then decide what happens next in Nepal?
Historically, the army of Nepal has always followed the government, whether it is the royal government of the king or the democratic and republican governments subsequently. They also have to be worried of their international image, because it is a very large contributing force to the UN peacekeepers. That is an element also to keep in mind. Besides that, the army definitely was in a hard place because Nepal was left with a political vacuum. Some of that political vacuum may be of the army's own doing. We do not know that right now, because we are told that we have heard that one of the reasons Prime Minister KP Oli stepped down was because the army told him they can no longer provide him support. We do not know that yet, but the army needs to be questioned. For all the difficulties they may have in their own functioning, needs to be questioned. Where were you when the country was burning? Where were you when the edifices of our nation state, the parliament, the parliament and the Supreme Court, and as well as the government secretariat, all of them within your security command and within 2 kilometers of your radius of your office. Where were you that whole day when the public was in such distress? Anyway, be that as it may, the army did come onto the streets the night of the 9th, 10 p.m. And since then, thanks to the army, there has been calm on the streets. So there is time now to breathe. And the civil society, as well as the political forces, have begun to regroup as I see it. This is my personal perception.
You're saying they've begun to regroup. Let me ask you a question that is under the surface but still bubbling there. Whether there are any external forces that are involved in this. Is this purely a domestic revolution, if I may use the word revolution, that has taken over the country? There was talk. Are there external forces at all involved in this? The Chinese, the Americans, do they all have some kind of role to play? Or should we call this purely internal Nepal's rebellion?
It's very, very easy to fall for conspiracy theories. And Nepal indeed has been subject to interventionism constantly, particularly from the southern neighbor, which is your country and your government. However, in the present case, what I would say is that both New Delhi and Beijing would like political stability in Nepal, and they will run with what is handed to them, even though certain wings of those governments may be proactive, and those are wings that do not bring out press releases, so one doesn't know. But I could tell you this much, as I understand it. One is, primarily, it is the mayhem, okay? Besides the dastardly act of the police of killing 19 on the first day and 25 in all, peaceful protesters, well, some of them were trying to break through to the parliamentary grounds, but they didn't have guns in hand, and they could have been tackled according to the protocol of how you manage riots. And Nepali police was not able to do that. That is the first day. The heart-stopping continuation of the violence happened the next day when Kathmandu Valley and large cities all over were aflame. And during this time, one doesn't know who was doing it, but I can tell you one can also discuss who is benefiting from this chaos without having been involved in it.
Who is benefiting? Who is benefiting? Who has benefited from the chaos?
Before I get there, because otherwise I'll link them too quickly to the violence. Let me just say that they were clearly anarchists about. Those anarchists were probably, firstly, pure anarchists. Secondly, those who may have been involved with far-right forces and the far-left forces. Could be some ex-Maoist combatants who got involved.
Right.
Could be the hindutva RSS-fed extremism that is also rife in Nepal. Even though they have not been involved in violent activities, they have been organizing in Nepal. All of those entities could try to foment a situation where the constitution collapses, the parliament is no more, and the president is gone, and then it's a free-for-all. And for those people who believe that free-for-all, because they are on the outside, it could benefit them, perhaps. This is a conjecture.
I have a minute. Can I ask you, are you today, on Thursday, a little bit more hopeful of peace and stability of some kind returning at the earliest than you were, let's say, 3 days ago when the violence was let loose across the country? Are you hopeful that Nepal is resilient enough to be able to move ahead?
Let me say this then. Yes, I am. Today was a turning point. Yesterday and the day before were not. But I must say this much that to your audience, that yesterday you had a guest from Nepal, a commentator, who said that the constitution was dead. I would like to, through this same pulpit, tell your audience that the constitution of Nepal is not dead, and there are enough people in Nepal rising up to try to save our constitution, because it was made by an elected constituent assembly over 8 years, and it is an inclusive constitution. It cannot be sent down the river that easily.
Okay, on that hopeful note, Kanakmani Dikshit, always a pleasure talking to you. Thank you very much for giving us your perspective. I know you've gone through very difficult days, but let's hope things get better and the sun rises once again over Everest. Thank you very much for joining me there from Kathmandu.
Thank you.
Okay, let's turn from Nepal back home to the top political story here in India. Today was the 75th anniversary or 75th birthday of Mohan Bhagwat, the RSS Sarsanchalak, widely seen as one of the most powerful people in the country. And interestingly, Prime Minister Narendra Modi penned a glowing tribute to Mohan Bhagwat, saying that his tenure had perhaps been the most significant in the 100-year history of the RSS. Modi went on to call Bhagwat a living example of the principle of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, someone who had dedicated his entire life to social transformation. Remember, all of this comes at a time when there have been questions over strains in the RSS-BJP relationship after the 2024 general elections, and also much talk over whether the age of 75 would be seen as a retirement age. All those reports seem to have been scotched. Take a look at this report, and then we look at the RSS's role and that of Mohan Bhagwat.
आज से 100 साल पहले एक संगठन का जन्म हुआ, राष्ट्रीय स्वयंसेवक संघ। 100 साल की राष्ट्र की सेवा एक बहुत ही गौरवपूर्ण स्वर्णिम पृष्ठ है। सेवा, समर्पण, संगठन और अप्रतिम अनुशासन, जिसकी पहचान रही है, ऐसा राष्ट्रीय स्वयंसेवक संघ दुनिया का ये सबसे बड़ा एनजीओ है एक प्रकार से।
Prime Minister Narendra Modi for the first time spoke about the RSS in his Independence Day speech from the ramparts of Red Fort on August 15. Nearly a month later, the Prime Minister has written an article lauding Mohan Bhagwat on the Sarsanchalak's 75th birthday, which incidentally comes in a year the RSS celebrates its 100th Foundation Day. The Prime Minister has called Bhagwat's tenure as RSS chief the most transformative period in the organization's 100-year journey. He added that Bhagwat is a living example of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, describing his leadership as one inspired by the principle of nation first. The Prime Minister said Bhagwat is a strong votary of Ek Bharat, Shreshth Bharat. Modi ends his article wishing Mohan ji a long and healthy life in service of Ma Bharti. In March this year, Modi had visited the RSS headquarters in Nagpur for the first time after becoming the Prime Minister. Bhagwat too had lauded the Prime Minister's handling of Operation Sindoor following the Pahalgam terror attack. Earlier, however, Bhagwat had sparked speculation with his remarks on what leaders should do when they turn 75, quoting the words of RSS thinker Moropant Pingle.
मग ते असं म्हणाले 75 वर्ष का आपने किया लेकिन मैं इसका अर्थ जानता हूं 75 वर्ष की शाल जब उड़ी जाती है तब उसका अर्थ यह होता है कि अब आपकी आयु हो गई अब जरा बाजू हमको करने दो.
The RSS chief later clarified it was a remark made in lighter vein. The Congress has called Prime Minister Modi's praise for Bhagwat a surrender to the RSS.
एक प्रकार से प्रधानमंत्री का सरेंडर है आरएसएस के सामने. बीच में नड्डा साहब का एक बयान आया था पिछले 2024 के चुनाव से पहले कि हमें आरएसएस की अब कोई ज़रूरत नहीं, हम इतना सक्षम है, इतने मजबूत हो चुके हैं, बड़ा संगठन इतना ग्रास रूट पर मजबूत हो गया है कि हमें किसी की ज़रूरत. उसका नतीजा उन लोगों ने देखा. जो बयान जो उनका स्टेटमेंट है या जो उनका राइटिंग है, एक तो उसे खुश करने के लिए आरएसएस को उन्होंने दिया है, लिखा है.
While Prime Minister Modi and Mohan Bhagwat have been effusive in their praise for each other over the last few weeks, the BJP and RSS are yet to agree on a name for the next BJP president. Testy Bonhomi also indicates a decision on that front can be expected soon. Bureau Report, India Today.
So what really is the role of Mohan Rao Bhagwat as the RSS Sar Sanchalak celebrates his 75th birthday? How do we interpret the Prime Minister's gushing praise for Mr. Bhagwat? Joining me now is S. Gurumurthy, RSS ideologue and editor Tughlaq. Appreciate your joining us, Mr. Gurumurthy. The Prime Minister has said that Mohan Bhagwat's tenure has been the most transformative in the 100-year history of the RSS. Is that a bit of an exaggeration? Or do you believe that there is a reset in ties, given the fact that only a year ago, BJP President JP Nadda was saying the BJP doesn't need the RSS, we can stand on our own? What explains this sudden effusive praise, both Independence Day address and now on the birthday, for Mohan Bhagwat?
You see, if this Independence Day address or this praise had come in any context other than the 100 years of work of RSS, maybe there could be interpretations which may help contextual newsmaking by the media. See, the RSS has completed 100 years and it's a very unique organization. People may or may not agree with its goals or way of functioning. That it has transformed the ecosystem of the country is something undeniable, which has brought about tremendous amount of changes in politics. So there is a context to acknowledge the RSS. That is how the Prime Minister's praise of RSS in his Independence Day speech.
Sir, but if I may stop you for a moment, the context that you are talking about, you've had leaders like Guruji Golwalkar, who were Sar Sanchalak for more than 3 decades. Are you telling me that Mohan Rao Bhagwat, who's been there for more than a decade today, is a more influential figure than even Guruji Golwalkar? Or is it simply the fact that now BJP is in power, hindutva has been more legitimized than it was when Guruji was the Sar Sanchalak? That's the real change.
See, you are not allowing me to complete.
Please go ahead.
But for this 100 years as the vantage point from which the RSS will look at itself and its past and future, which Narendra Modi, who is a product, must also be doing. This praise of RSS in the Independence Day speech as well as his reference to Mohan context will be out of place. So there is a context in which he says that. One. Number two, the RSS was built by its founder as well as Golwalkar and then Balasaheb Devres, who had held very long tenures as the Sarsanga Chalak of RSS, against great adversity. They functioned under adversity, which forced unity, which forced a sense of purpose, working together in all the Parivar organizations. But the RSS began witnessing a new situation where it was not facing state adversity. In the situation, ecosystem had changed in favor of the RSS. There is a benevolent government and not an adversarial government, in which the way the RSS functioned is very, very important. This is where we have to compare the Sarva Seva Sangh Congress relationship and the RSS BJP relationship. Sarva Seva Sangh was also conceived as a moral monitor of the Congress party. But Sarva Seva Sangh became dependent on the Congress government's largesse. With the result, it got sidetracked. It could not achieve its goal of morally monitoring the Congress. But the RSS, in spite of the fact that in a favorable situation, a benevolent government which looks at RSS favorably and not adversely is in power, the RSS kept cool. The Sarsanga Chalak's greatest contribution is when the tallest leader of the world, who is the Swayamsevak, who has delivered all that the RSS has been aspiring for the last 60, 70 years, and has become some kind of a phenomenon in the mind of the RSS Swayamsevaks, on the one hand, and the RSS as an organization which has to lost far, far beyond any government, on the other. Mohan Bhagwat has been able to maintain the identity of the RSS in the face of this huge phenomenon of Modi as the towering leader, and also maintained the dignity of the functioning of the stature of the Sarsanga Chalak. This is what Narendra Modi acknowledged.
No,
In this transformative year.
it's interesting the way you're putting it, but there will be those who will challenge that by saying the RSS is now proximate to political power. And as a result of being so proximate to political power, it has benefited hugely. It has been able to ensure that its people enter universities, various institutions, newsrooms, and therefore the RSS has never had it so good. Therefore, there is the RSS now has huge amounts of control and influence that it can exert. So where is the compliment that you are giving the Sarsang Chalak? The Sarsang Chalak is a beneficiary, some would say, of what has happened.
You see, Dr. Achin Vanayak, one of the great left thinkers, wrote in 1990s.
Yes.
I still recollect his words. There has been no proper study of the RSS by the people who do not agree with RSS, who are detractors of RSS. With the result, we will not know how the RSS functions. The RSS will function even if there is no BJP government. It will function if there is a BJP government. But the RSS has a working relationship with government is very different from RSS being dependent on the government. What I am saying is the RSS work will never be dependent on the government. That Mohan Bhagwat has achieved. And this is transformative years because all that the RSS had hoped to achieve, aspired to achieve, longed to achieve, has been achieved from 2019 to 2024.
But you don't think it has got more politicized as a result? You don't think that the RSS, which claimed we are apolitical, has got more politicized in the last decade? They are the ones out there running in some way the BJP's campaign, especially at state level. You don't think that that has in any way contaminated the RSS?
If you will believe me, I have been associated with the RSS at fairly higher levels from around 1977. And even during the emergency, there were three phases of the RSS work, which I have seen intensely. One, the adversarial phase, in which the emergency, then return of Mrs. Indira Gandhi,
Right.
and then the Ram Janmabhoomi movement, when the whole world converged against the RSS. I had seen this phase. Afterwards, the melting of the national polity, partly accepting the RSS. Even those who were detractors of RSS began accepting the RSS and the BJP, forming coalitions in the late 1990s and early 2000. And the next phase is when Narendra Modi led the BJP to a massive victory. So these are the three phases in which I have seen in every phase that RSS is politicized was a very regular charge. During the JP movement, the same charge was there. Mrs. Gandhi used to make the same charge. During the Ram Janmabhoomi movement, the same charge. The RSS has got politicized. And now also the same charge, the RSS has got politicized. See, the RSS has a political view. Just as Swami Vivekananda had a view about politics. Though, in fact, there are different assessments about Swami Vivekananda. When you are a nationalist, you have a nationalist attitude to politics also. But the question is, what you mentioned, Mohan Bhagwat is a beneficiary of the power, is what you have missed understanding the RSS. Nobody can buy the RSS.
Okay. Okay, no one can buy, but let me ask you this, sir. A year ago, you will recall Dr. Bhagwat's, Mohan Bhagwat's remarks, for example, where he spoke out against Vyakti Puja, where he warned that no individual should think himself to be bigger than the organization. Many saw that as attempts to sort of downsize the personality cult that had been built around Mr. Modi, who had called himself a non-biological god in a way at the time. Then there was talk of 75 years, Margdarshak Mandal. Will Mr. Modi, who turned 75 in a few days, be asked to slowly retire? Will Mr. Bhagwat himself retire? What is all of what we've seen, this praise, part of this attempt to scotch all of that? That there is a clear division between the RSS and BJP, between Mr. Bhagwat and Mr. Modi, and Mr. Bhagwat is, as you're saying, in a way the ideological mentor, driver of the BJP.
Rajdeep, your question is longer than my answer. I will tell you
Sorry.
what it is. The 75-year issue, I was actually eyewitness to what was happening in 1990s when there was some stagnation in the RSS leadership growth. Many old leaders had continued, and some of them were even seen to be physically not very active. So a discussion took place in the RSS. We are a youth organization, and we cannot have leaders who are not physically seen to be active. So they said we will have a normative age of 75, at which anyone can say, hereafter it is not possible for me, I will go. It is not a rule, because in RSS nobody retires unless the organization allows them to retire. But when a person gets into the RSS, it is his work for life, particularly a pracharak. So at 75, somebody will say, no, say it is 75, I will go. Then the organization will take a decision whether they should go or not. This is even for RSS. So far as the BJP is concerned, this rule was never applied. I will give you the standing proof that when Advani became the party president in 2004, after the RSS decided in 1997 or so, that about the 75 years, Advani was 77 years. So when you may ask why Advani and others were upgraded into the Margadarshak Mandal, it was a generational change in the BJP. It had nothing to do with the age. That generational change meant that a new generation has come to power.
Are you saying the RSS is comfortable though with the idea of a personality cult around a political leader? Is Mr. Bhagwat comfortable with that?
No, I tell you, the Advaniji, in fact, this is a subject which I have always discussed with Advaniji. Advaniji used to tell me, Guru, even though we are a parliamentary democracy, our elections are almost a presidential form of elections. We have to project a leader. In fact, in 1999, the BJP election manifesto, the suggestion was Atalji's picture should be on the front page, Advaniji's picture should be on the back page. Sikandar Bhatt was the man who said this. Advaniji said nothing doing. Only Atalji should be there on both sides because he has to be projected as a leader.
Okay.
This country, unfortunately, from the time of Jawaharlal Nehru, Indira Gandhi, it had become some kind of a leader-driven political election. So the BJP had to follow that. So,
Okay.
but one thing in BJP is that nobody can institute personality cult in the way in which it happened in the Congress, because BJP is a consultative party.
Can I
know decisions have been taken in BJP which may not be completely to the liking of the prime ministers.
Can I though stop you for one final question? Who do you believe is the more powerful person within the Sangh Parivar, Mohan Bhagwat or Narendra Modi? It's a bit of a googly.
Sangha and BJP function parallelly, but there is connectivity. The Sangha recognizes that there are areas. For example, Sangha may have a particular view about foreign policy and all that. It will only tell the Prime Minister, or it may tell this is its view. But final decision taken by the government, the RSS will accept because the government is more endowed with knowledge on the subject.
Okay.
They have greater competence. This parallelity as well as convergence is a very special feature of the working of the RSS and the BJP. And this is not understood outside. They always think these are competing organizations, they're competing leaders. No.
Okay.
It's not correct.
Can I therefore just push you one time to what is the one thing about Mohan Rao Bhagwat that we don't know, that you know, that makes him, according to you, so special?
See, he has managed the most difficult period of facing not adversity, but prosperity. In the prosperity, in the sense, acceptability. RSS had always fought against the views against it. A huge amount of turn in favor of the RSS and the system. But he has not allowed the RSS to become dependent on the BJP for any purpose. I can tell you this much.
Okay. Let me leave it there. Let me leave it there. Interesting to hear your views as always, S. Gurumurthy. I appreciate you joining us here on the news today. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
The RSS BJP equation. Okay, let's turn from there to the big international story today, where shock and bloodshed on an American campus in Utah. Charlie Kirk, one of Donald Trump's closest allies, was gunned down in front of a live audience, mainly of students. The assassination was caught on camera, reigniting urgent questions about the rise of political violence in the US. Donald Trump has gone even a step further, blaming the radical left for targeting his aide. Take a look at our next report.
Counting gang violence. Great.
Charlie Kirk, a key ally of President Donald Trump, is shot dead. The 31-year-old founder of Turning Point USA was on the stage addressing students at the Utah Valley University when he was fired at. The shooter is believed to have been on the roof of a building across the road, more than 100 yards from the stage, where the right-wing activist was speaking. The event was part of Kirk's American comeback tour.
This morning I can tell you that we have recovered what we believe is the weapon that was used in yesterday's shooting. It is a high-powered bolt-action rifle. That rifle was recovered in a wooded area where the shooter had fled. So the FBI laboratory will be analyzing this weapon. Investigators have also collected footwear impression, a palm print, and forearm imprints for analysis.
The police arrested 2 people but released them later. Multiple agencies, including the FBI, are involved in a manhunt.
The only information we have on the suspect, the possible shooter, is taken from closed-circuit TV here on campus. We do have that. We're analyzing it. but it is security camera footage, so you can kind of guess what the quality of that is. But we do know dressed in all dark clothing, but we don't have a much better description other than that.
Join me in welcoming the next
Kirk was a rising star in the conservative network. President Trump called him a true patriot and vowed to hunt down everyone responsible for the killing described by Republican leaders as political assassination. US flags across the country have been lowered to half-mast.
Grief and anger at the heinous assassination of Charlie Kirk on a college campus in Utah. Charlie inspired millions, and tonight all who knew him and loved him are united in shock and horror. This kind of rhetoric is directly responsible for the terrorism that we're seeing in our country today, and it must stop right now.
Former presidents Barack Obama and Joe Biden posted messages on social media condemning the murder.
counting gang violence. Great.
Kirk's assassination marks the latest in a dangerous surge of political violence in the US. Last year, Trump himself was shot at during a rally in Pennsylvania, narrowly surviving with a ear wound. Governors' homes have been torched. Judges have faced threats. And in December, United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson was killed in a brazen Manhattan hit. Today, American people fear political violence is becoming the norm. Bureau Report, India Today.
And joining us on that big international story today is Anna Oakes, a journalist based in New York. Appreciate your joining us, Anna. I've just seen US President Donald Trump on Truth Social saying that Charlie Kirk was a martyr for truth who's been assassinated because of the rhetoric of the radical left. He's holding them directly responsible for the assassination of his aide, Charlie Kirk. How do you respond to that? Do you agree with what Donald Trump is saying?
Well, first, I think it's a really devastating event that has happened. I think it's just an indication of how what a tragic situation the entire country finds itself in, that people are driven to such violent forms of action. I will say they have. It seems like they're looking for a specific person, but there's no information on the motives of the shooter. So while President Trump is portraying this as a politically motivated action from the left, we don't know if the shooter was from the left, in fact.
But just to press you on what Donald Trump has said in that video, for years, those on the radical left have compared wonderful Americans like Charlie to Nazis and the world's worst mass murderers and criminals. Is this also a reflection then of the hyperpolarization that we are seeing in the United States, quite apart from the easy availability of guns, but just a hyperpolarized issue where moment a killing like this happens, there will be these attacks made by one side on the other?
I think absolutely, yeah. I mean, this is one in an increase in political violence that we've seen over the past several years. So actually, most incidents of political violence have been coming from right-wing extremists, but I think it's absolutely a indication of polarization. I think that there's always an impulse to blame this on rhetoric, or to really find out what the reasons for this are, or to attribute blame. But until we know who the shooter was and what their motives were, I think it's important to stay cautious.
Okay. John Rosamondo, also defense analyst, joins me from Washington, D.C. Mr. Rosamondo, what's your sense? Is this a killing which has been occasioned by the ideological positions that Charlie Kirk took, or is it premature to suggest who is behind it, because the US president has already blamed the radical left?
Well, let's put it this way. This looked like, has all the earmarks of a professional hit. I mean, the way that the shooter was lined up with the stage, The fact that the bullet hit Charlie Kirk in his carotid artery, which would have killed him instantly. There's a lot of talk in intelligence circles about the potentiality of whether a foreign intelligence organization or maybe even the Latin American cartel sending a message, because Charlie Kirk was one of President Trump's strongest supporters and one of the people who was most instrumental for him returning to power. I mean, if it was the cartels, it would be like, don't come after us, we'll come after you and we'll hurt you with the people you care about the most.
But do you go along? We've seen in recent times senators being targeted, people who've taken strong ideological positions becoming very vulnerable. Is there that element which has crept into American politics, especially after Donald Trump's taken over, that American society is just too hyper-polarized and therefore any public comment immediately attracts huge attention from those across the ideological divide? Could that be a reason?
Well, I think it's too early to assess a motive. I mean, I think that the fact that this was set up and the way that the assassin was able to escape shows this was not just simply someone going crazy with an AR-15 or going crazy with a political figure. This has all the earmarks of a professional hit job.
Should that therefore, Mr. Rosamondo, make it more worrying that if it is a professional hit job, it obviously suggests that a huge security lapse, quite apart from the easy availability of guns, which is now a major issue across the United States. But the fact that you're saying it's a professional hit job should actually make it even more worrying, some would say.
Well, let's put it this way. The security was supposed to be paid for by Turning Point USA. No one could have, in their wildest mind, have anticipated this kind of hit. I mean, it was done with a bolt-action rifle using a high-power 30-06 cartridge that would not have been covered by any of the gun control measures promoted by Democrats. So I think that you know, this is going to cause a lot of high-profile individuals to reconsider how they engage people for their own safety.
Anna Hoax, as a final word, do you believe that this is in a way a wake-up call for American society and politics, which, as I said, in recent times has seen other such killings take place? Is this something that will wake up the system as to the toxicity of some of the kind of discourse taking place in American society at the moment?
I certainly hope so, but I do think it's really important not to draw conclusions or spread theories about the motives of the shooter before we have actual information. So I think it's quite irresponsible to be even just repeating.
It's the President of the United States, not me. It's the President of the United States who's already attributing motives.
Yes, and also the speaker right before me, John, I think saying that this could possibly be an act of cartel violence. There's absolutely no evidence or motives to back that idea. So I think it's we really need to be careful in feeding into these like xenophobic language that is only, this language itself is feeding this polarization.
You want a final word on that, John? Are you feeding into the xenophobic language?
My colleague here has little understanding of geopolitics or of geostrategy. It has absolutely nothing to do with, I mean, the fact that she's bringing in race here is a sign of her lack of information and her,
I didn't say race at all.
Failure of information and her desire to present propaganda and disinformation.
Okay, let's leave it there. Let's leave it there. I think what is very clear is that this has certainly shaken America. It has certainly provoked the President of the United States to make pretty strong comments, already virtually accusing the radical left of being behind it. We'll wait and see as to who really was responsible for the assassination of Charlie Kirk. Thank you both very much, Anna and John, for joining me there from New York and Washington.
Thank you.
Thank you.
A 50-year-old woman has been found murdered inside her own home in Hyderabad. What makes the crime even more disturbing is that the killers are suspected to be her own house helps, people she had trusted for years. The incident has not only shaken Hyderabad but also raised fresh questions about safety in the four walls of one's home. Take a look at tonight's special report.
It's every family's worst nightmare. A blood-curdling murder in the urban hub of Hyderabad. A woman murdered in the place she considered to be the safest, her own home. 50-year-old Renu Agarwal was murdered by those she trusted, her house helps, in a horrifying act that's now led to many families rethinking having help stay at home. She was hit repeatedly with a cooker. She was stabbed with a pair of scissors, her hands and feet tied. Gory images have emerged of the horrifying crime, so gory that India Today cannot air the footage.
When her husband tried to call the victim, after not answering the calls, the husband contacted the management of this apartment who had broken into the house and found the woman into a pool of blood where her throat was slit and head was smashed with a cooker. The police have registered a case and sent the body for a post-mortem examination, and further investigation into this matter is underway as the culprits are still at large.
What's even more disturbing is that one of the male helps has been staying with the family for the past 9 years. Just 10 days ago, he brought his relative to the house, and now both of them are suspected to have committed this heinous act.
ये रोशन का जो ओनर का गाड़ी है स्कूटी, वो स्कूटी लेकर वो बाहर चले वैसा दिख रहा, वो रेनबो विस्टा की तरफ से मादापुर के रूट में गए वैसा दिख रहा। हम उसके ऊपर वेरीफाई कर रहे हैं और इसके ऊपर 5 टीम्स भी फॉर्म किया गए, तो हम लोग इसके ऊपर इन्वेस्टिगेशन कर रहे हैं हम लोग।
The monsters are still out there, but the incident has sent shockwaves across Hyderabad.
15 days back, somebody came along with the existing servant who has probably created all this plan and made this happen. Police immediately reacted. Within very few minutes, they are here, and all night they were searching with the clues team and stuff. So they have responded very quickly.
Another trusted house help turning murderer. This incident is another reminder to be careful of who we allow inside our homes. With Abdul Bashir in Hyderabad, Bureau Report, India Today.
That's all that we could pack in on the news today. Thanks for watching. Stay well, stay safe. Good night, Shubh Ratri. Jai Hind, Namaskar.